What's going on, man? We're back with another podcast of I'm Just Saying. I'm Jeremiah again.
And Gabe?
Man, we're just here to talk about this past game last week. We went 1-1. After the historic loss versus Florida, we were able to bounce back in a pretty close game with Texas. How did you feel about it?
I felt pretty good. Yeah, let's get right into it. We traveled to Austin
Yeah.
for the second game of our 2 game week, and we came out with the win. Close win, but a pretty good win.
Yeah.
174-70. It was pretty wire to wire, I would say. Um, yeah, the game was close throughout. I had written in our notes, neither team led by more than 7 points, so the game was constantly kind of swaying
Yeah.
back and forth. It was a good comeback for him. I mean, a win's a win. So regardless, that for the boys to do what they did against Florida, lose like they did, and then come back and beat Texas and come home with a win,
Yeah.
says a lot about the way they were able to kind of regroup. What did you think?
Um, I was hoping for I predicted like a 8 to 10 point win, and then like just seeing the first and second half, I'm like, because we talked about like Trey Johnson and stuff like that. He's a real deal, like freshman now. He's being compared to KD and stuff. He had 20 early points, like really early. And then he had a knockdown three to end the first half. At the top of the key, I think it was over Zakai actually. And then it was just like they had momentum. And plus, in those away games, as we said before a long time, even before SEC play started, how this Tennessee and this Rick Barnes squad like react in those away games. And you know what I'm saying? I saw Chaz came out and struggled again. This is his second time only scoring 10 points. This season, well, not this season, but in SEC play for sure. And he shot below 30% from the field once again. So we spoke about how last year the team depended on dunking it, and maybe we see the trends of that happening again this season. Um, but actually we did. It stood out to me. Zakai had 13 in second half, ended up finishing with 16 points and 8 assists after coming off a 1 assist game and like only 10 points against Florida. So that was a good bounce back game, seeing that veteran guard and reigning FC Defensive Player of the Year come back. And man, we had a good little like 3 to 5 minute segment on what we're gonna do about D Stone. And he showed up. He definitely showed up. What do you think about D Stone's performance?
Yeah, man, I thought you know, I submitted. I thought we were pretty right on that. We had said before a lot of people were looking to Igor to maybe be that X factor, that guy to break out, and we were sitting here saying we really think it's D-Stone. Sorry, but for multiple reasons though. One of them mainly being his size and his ability to stretch the floor. So when guys are closing it, I went to practice yesterday and they had the little presser afterwards, and somebody asked, and they asked Felix, but they were just asking just in general, like how nice is it that to have, like, if teams were to start closing out on Chaz, which is what they had been doing, and they started to guard him differently and double team him and close out on him and trap him and all that kind of stuff. To have a guy like, you could just kick it back out to D-Stone, to Dubar, who has a lot of those qualities, a lot of those abilities that Chaz has. I mean, going through the stat line, he scored 12 points, which is what we asked for. I think we literally just said, as long as he scored in double figures, I think that would go a long way. So 12 points, but 9 points in the last 14 minutes. Had a season high 6 rebounds and 3 of 5 from 3 point range. I mean, that's exactly what I had said in the last pod about if he can produce around that level, and I don't think that's a high bar, but if he could produce around that level, night in, night out, and then once Chaz because I think Chaz will figure it out. I think teams are guarding him differently. We could talk about it now, but Rick Barnes' quote about him not taking a shot, he gets
Yeah.
paid to take that shot, so that's why I took you out. In a way, because I watched the replay, in a way I was like, I think he just doesn't want to. He doesn't want to appear to be selfish. He doesn't want to be that guy. I still think there's a little bit of still being the new guy. I don't. Maybe I should pass out of this shot, but I think Barnes is right, and I think the whole coaching staff is right. They want him. They believe that he can make those shots. They don't mind if it's a little contested. If he feels good, he feels like he can make it. If he feels hot, or if he's not hot, like he wasn't against Texas or he wasn't against Florida, and they want him to start getting into it. Sometimes it takes, it's like the same thing with in football. Sometimes the quarterback's just not completing passes the way he wants to, not making his reads. Maybe he's getting sacked. Sometimes it just takes running out of the pocket and lowering your shoulder and hitting and trucking a defender to just get you back feeling again. You're starting to feel nice. You're starting to feel good, and then everything starts opening up. And I think that's what they're looking for from Chaz.
Oh yeah. I wanted to add. Well, I talk about Chaz first, but yeah. Um, the Rick Barnes quote was really funny to me because I felt like I've never heard Rick Barnes really talk about like transfer portal and how NIL and stuff works like that. He said a little bit about it when he talked about when they Arkansas came to Tennessee and played. He was like, yeah, a dude just ended up leaving. I guess it was a better situation, better money situation. But you got to think about it. These guys are not professionals, but they're actually like professionals in a sense because you get paid for something that you for your craft. So you're a professional in a sense. So I completely understand. Like, bro, if I drop and play, you've been averaging 20 points through 14 games this season, bro. You shoot 45% from three before these two games, 45% from the field. Shoot the ball. If it's a wide open shot, shoot the ball regardless. Because think about it, like, he's messing up the offense. Like, because he's not shooting, because teams are saying, oh, he's going to pass that shot. We don't have to close out as hard and leave somebody else like D Stone open. And going back to D Stone, he did all of those things like the 12 points, 9 in the last 14 minutes. He did this in 17 minutes of like play. So imagine if we're struggling to find well, not we. Tennessee is struggling to find offense because Meshack can't shoot. He's not spreading the floor. They're blitzing Chaz off these screens. They're blitzing Chaz when he has a ball in his hands. Zakai can't get up because there's a mismatch. Imagine D Stone comes in and plays 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 22 minutes. Just in those games that you may need a little bit more scoring.
I mean, the
And
guy is 6'7",
yeah, he's big, like
pretty big, pretty physical, pretty built, athletic. You saw that dunk he had was probably the
yeah,
highlight of the
yeah,
game. He's
yeah.
athletic, so he showed everything he possibly could in that game offensively. They did say in practice yesterday that he was kind of, and this was just them, kind of giving you insight. They were saying yesterday how like, he was kind of feeling himself offensively. He was finally able to get a groove on. He's been trying to find his stroke. But they reminded him, or what coaches said yesterday at practice, they reminded him to not forget to do all the things he's supposed to do defensively, because that is a big part of him being here. It's a big part of Rick Barnes' stuff. So don't forget. They're like, don't forget that, because we give you more minutes, but you'll lose those minutes quick if you start focusing more on offense than your deep. Make sure you're still doing all the things that were giving you good, that made you the player that we wanted. The physical tools, the ability to defend multiple positions, and then add that to your scoring. And so, but offensive wise, I think he did show everything he could. He got up for big putbacks. He's hitting from long range from outside the arc. He had a couple mid rangers that were pretty good. He's getting into the rim. He had a little bit of everything. Again, nothing crazy, 12 points, but exactly what they needed.
Yeah, and then I wanted to highlight before we move on, you adding about, man, if we can get if if I'm Rick Morris, if we can get 22 plus off the bench from Gainey and D Stone every night, that's a win. You know, just
Yeah,
add
Jordan.
offense off the bench, that's a win. Plus, uh, when Phillips gets healthy, I'm pretty sure he'll be playing a little bit more minutes as well.
Yeah, he's still got a shoulder injury.
He may end up adding 8 to 10 more on top of that. So if you can get 30 points off the bench, I mean that's good
Well,
basketball.
I have it written in our notes. It was one of the key stats that I take notes as one of the key stats that I wrote down is Tennessee had a 28-9 advantage on the bench. And that's almost exactly what we had mentioned in the last episode about them getting more depth and more scoring off the bench and more production outside of your starting five. And outside of Chaz, and they showed it. That's exactly like that's how they won the game. They definitely, I mean, they only won by 4 points, so 74-70. They definitely wouldn't have won that game if these guys off the bench were, didn't step up. I mean, seriously, because Chaz having 10 points for now, we can call it an outlier. We'll see how that ends up shaping out as more SEC and conference games turns out. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, he can kind of get back closer, maybe not 20 points a game, but closer to that in SEC play. If you're getting, I mean, Dubar and Jordan Gainey combined for 22 points off the bench. You can get that, then and then Chaz getting back to his regular scoring. I think you're starting to get right back into that number because I don't know if we mentioned yet, but after last week's polls, we dropped to number 6 out of the top 5. To be expected. You dropped a pretty poor game against
Florida.
against Florida on the road. Um, so there's six. But I think not that I'm focused. I don't care as much about rankings. Not that I don't think they are neither. So not that they or we are focused about the rankings, but like I said, you're getting that kind of bench production. You're getting 20 plus from those two guys on top of Chaz figuring himself out and getting back into his scoring abilities. I think you're sitting right back at that best team in the nation style of play.
Yeah, I just want to highlight one more thing before we get into this next matchup versus Georgia. I think I wrote about it in one of my articles about how teams I mean not team the team like Coach Barnes and Zakai were raving about Ipara and his defensive like stature when it comes to like altering shots at the rim. He had three huge blocks versus Texas late, and they came like in like
All
not
three were in the last 10
yeah
minutes.
like, they came in like quick possessions. Like okay, he got to block this possession. He blocks out of bounds. Texas come back with the ball. He blocks another shot. Like he's a game changer for sure, especially like when it comes to points in the paint. If we can, well, Tennessee can get our power like rest and K Phillips healthy so they can bounce off each other. Kind of play like Kim Caldwell does with the girls, but not like full five, but like getting those centers,
She subs
especially
a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She subs
like
this week.
I mean,
So they
because
can
Estrela's gone, so that's less interior depth. But if they can get K Phillips and Akbar to bounce like play five, play five, play five, play five, but play your hardest five, and then alternate shots at the rim, that's a pretty good thing too. He's the high motor guy for sure. You could tell like just the way he's chasing rebounds, the way he's chasing loose balls, and the way he comes from the free throw line to the backboard to try to alter shots. I mean, I like Akbar a lot for
I
sure.
agree, and I think in this game coming up, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But this shit's like the one to hit on Texas. But in this game coming up against Georgia, seriously, I mean they live in the paint. I think I saw at one point they're third in the nation in dunks, so they're getting a lot of uncontested. The key for us tonight or them tonight is to keep them from getting uncontested looks at the rim, and I think Felix is going to be a huge part of that. So expect Felix to have a big night tonight. Should the Vols win, because like I said, those blocks that he was having, he had 9 rebounds, not like anything crazy, but the way that he was kind of moving around and playing a lot of help defense probably also contributes to the relatively not so high uh, rebounding performance. But he played very well defensively. I think again tonight, not only defensively getting in the paint, but getting him involved in the paint offensively. With we mentioned Zakai finding his groove again, getting his assist numbers back up. So finding Felix on those open alleys is going to be huge. And then, like you said, Cade Phillips slowly but surely getting better each game, and that's the thing that sucks when you lose what you're projected, you know, possible starting center. At the beginning of the year, JP Estrella. When you lose him, you're losing a lot of that big man depth. And to be honest, there isn't really another option there unless they were to go small ball and run Igor at the five, which wouldn't be a bad
Yeah.
idea for some matchups in different scenarios. Probably won't work tonight, to be honest with you. Again, I really do expect a lot of workload to be on Felix. Um, but yeah, so I think his paint presence is going to be huge. Also, and this is nothing the coaches mentioned yesterday, they want to get him involved more, and they're trying to push to not like, I think that's something that Barnes had said yesterday. I was sitting in practice and he was kind of yelling at them while they were, doing their little thing. I think that's something that he had said is, stop settling for, low efficient, not efficient shots. Stop settling for fadeaway jumpers or turnaround. I think it was one point, I don't remember. Maybe it was Igor, and he had the ball low, and he kind of turned and did maybe a little Kareem, little hook shot, and he got it was nice. That's why I like going to practice and watching Barnes, because he got upset. He's like, stop, stop, stop. He's like, I don't want to see that. Don't do the little falling away like hook. Maybe you're baiting a foul, maybe you're not. Like, who cares? He goes, turn it around and get your shoulder in and up. Try to like really use your. He's telling him like you're big. Like go like don't fall away from it and kind of like throw it up. Like no, turn and get your shoulder in and actually like if you're gonna get fouled, at least get fouled at the rim. So I really appreciate that. And I think they're definitely going to be looking for that, not for just from Igor, but from Felix. I think those alleys from Zakai to Felix, I think something that the coaches said yesterday is getting the ball where like only Felix can jump for it, because he's so tall and his arms are so long. 6'11", and like and just jumps out the gym. So very Dwight Howard-esque for those who were watching basketball back then. But throw the ball only where he can find it and only where he can catch it, and then he's the one getting uncontested looks at the rim.
Yeah, it was. I think Texas game was pretty eye opening what can happen in the rest of the SEC play. But moving on to today's matchup, hopefully this pie gets out before start.
Hey,
Sorry.
yeah, we'll get no. I plan on after this we'll get the pod out as soon as this is over. We'll get it out before the game. I do want to mention something, and it will have to do with this game today. I mean, because it'll transition in all the games. But I will be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that Trey Johnson did eat
Oh yeah.
Tennessee's lunch money on Saturday. I mean, really and truly, 26 points, and it was a nasty 26 points too. It was contested threes. Um,
Oh, bro,
it was it
he
was
had
a
8-0, 10-0 run by him.
uh, it
Like
was a little hezzy, and then now. I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I'm impressed by how many open looks he had at the rim. A little hezzy, little dribble move, and now all of a sudden he's just breaking free down to the rim, and nobody's there. He's quick. Like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Trey
But I
Johnson
can
ate
say
their
that
lunch.
if he was on if they shut him down, I think I wrote about him in my article. He didn't score the last 11 minutes and 30 seconds of the second half.
Really, I don't know that. I just know he was. I just
He
know
had
he was going
26.
off.
He had 26 in about 30 minutes. Like
Yeah,
not even 30. He probably played like 20 of those 30
it was
minutes.
kind
So
of filthy.
if Tennessee didn't make those adjustments, he probably could have ended with a 40 ball. Like, nah,
And then overall, we
he's nice.
mentioned, yeah, we mentioned Texas shot like just a little less than 40% from three against Auburn in that game, and Tennessee held them to 7 of 25 shooting. 28% from the field. Tennessee is actually the best 3-point defending team in the nation. I don't know if I have the stat for like the exact number, but they are ranked number one as far as like lowest percentage. So
It's
uh,
about 20. I'm pretty sure it's like 20 some percent.
it's definitely under 30. They're holding everybody under
Like
30.
27.8 in their range, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So the perimeter defense, again, all credit to really Zakai and Mishak, who I think still the best perimeter defender in the SEC, possibly just
Yeah.
the nation. But they've done their parts, on the outside. So, but as you said, on to tonight's game. Tennessee plays Georgia tonight at home. We're both back in Knoxville. At 7 or 8 o'clock, late game. On SEC Network. This is the first time, fun fact of the day, that Tennessee and Georgia will be playing together when they're both ranked in the top 25. Tennessee has not faced a ranked Georgia since 2003, so over 20 years. Could be interesting.
It can be. And the one thing that stood out to me was that Georgia was picked 12th in the SEC preseason poll, and they're on the leader right now, low key, man. I mean,
They're
they
coming
had
off 2 top 20 wins.
top 25. I think they beat
Kentucky, and then they beat Florida.
Kentucky by 13, 82-69, and they beat Oklahoma.
Or Oklahoma, my fault. They narrowly lost to Florida. That game was close.
They're playing really good. They don't look like a preseason 12 seed in the SEC. Really, the SEC overall is just like the good teams that you thought were going to be good are not doing as well, and then the bad teams that you thought you are going to be bad are doing really great. Like
Really, everybody's doing well.
Arkansas is 0-3, 0-4.
Wow, yeah, Arkansas is a different story. But
Yeah.
Missouri last night,
Missouri
coming in. But Missouri last night, knocking off Florida, number 5 Florida. Missouri was unranked now, but they're unranked, but they only have 3 losses. So now they've beaten a top 5 team. I think I saw. Now is Ole Miss. Ole Miss also beat number 4, so they're ranked 20 something, and they beat number 4 Alabama. And that's their first top 5 ring, so they're gonna get up in the rankings a bit. Tennessee takes care of business tonight and Saturday. They'll probably see themselves back in the top 5. That's a little side note, but I'm just saying. I mean, the SEC. Further noting that the SEC is a very difficult, and honestly, one of the guys on the Missouri broadcast, like one of the announcers was saying, it feels like March. These guys are playing so hard. It feels like tournament basketball with how close these games are, the upsets, the just the everything, the atmosphere. But go ahead.
It's a lot of good basketball going on, especially in the SEC. But not to get away from the topic, Tennessee is about to face another top freshman in the country, and especially in the SEC. And I don't know how to pronounce his name for real, but like Asa Newell. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but I just know he's a 6'11" freshman forward. He was like top 15 in the country coming out of this past class in the class of 2024. But he leads the Bulldogs in scoring 15.4 points per game and also rebounds at 6.8 rebounds per game. He's at least scored 13 points in all his SEC games, even 13 rebound double against Ole Miss. Have you been able to watch any Georgia game
Outside the
film?
Florida game, which they looked really good. Like I said, from what I'd seen, because I'm too busy watching. Or and I did watch some of the Kentucky game. Um, Paint, man, they're not like some of these other teams. They're not like Florida where they'll stretch the floor and they'll move fast and they'll do all this stuff. They want to get inside and they want to beat you with like in 3 feet or less. They're trying to get good looks at the basket, take high percentage shots. Physical, very, very physical. So this is another thing harping back to the Florida game because you had to take that as a cautionary tale because they got way out physical in that game and bullied off the boards and all that kind of stuff. Just everything to do with it mentally, physically, everything. And Georgia's gonna probably bring it today as far as their physical and mental, their mentality trying to get into the paint, trying to get second chance buckets is gonna be another thing. So that's why I really harp on the fact that I think Felix is going to have a big game. Igor too, but I think look to Felix tonight to have. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he had a season high in points today because I think he's gonna be a workhorse.
Yeah, then speaking of like practices and stuff, the assistant coach Campbell was like, we have to match Arkansas. I mean, why didn't I just say Arkansas? I was looking at the stat. I'm sorry, but we have to match Georgia's physicality for sure because that's what that team brings. They want to bump. They want
Yeah,
to
that's what he said.
balls. They want to box you out instead of just hoping for a rebound. So it will be good because Georgia's a pretty big team because Ace is 6'11", so they have some almost footers on their team for sure. Um, One thing I'm just excited to see is will Chad shoot better because I feel like he's gonna. I feel like coming home
The best
and
say.
in a court that you're familiar with the Rams here. Your shot may be falling today. This may be a bounce back game that we see from Chaz. What do you think?
Yeah, I think coming back to Knoxville to Thompson Bowling Food City Center or whatever, it will help him out a lot. Getting the home crowd back in, I think will help him out a lot. Confidence wise, being able to or being willing to take shots and actually try to get more involved and maybe take the charge. Hopefully, honestly, I think the team's better off for it when it's like last year, the occasional time where Dalton didn't lead us in scoring. Like that's not good for the team. You want him, even if there were times where Josiah Jordan James would have like 23 points and Dalton would have 19 and we'd barely scrape by a win. I'm like, honestly, like you want to see Dalton leading us because you want your leading scorer to lead on all phases of offense. And so I think the key to this game, two things would be getting Chaz back involved, getting him back in the offense and getting a bounce back game from him. And then, like I said, and I'll keep harping, Felix having a big game.
Yeah. Let's see. It was one more thing I wanted to talk about when it came to Georgia. Um. Oh yeah, like just home advantages for Tennessee this season. Tennessee is 9-0 at home this season. 2-0. Looking to start 2-0 in SEC play for
Uh,
the.
Similarly, they're 14-0 as of the moment in unranked matchups, which is great. A lot of people, I think, uh, either Vols fans or Vol haters or Vol fan haters, are maybe harp on that or like point to that as like, hey, Tennessee's not as good. They're only beating, they're just, dominating the bad teams and then they don't perform, they only have one loss. And yes, it was bad to Florida, but they got tested against Florida and then they lost, blah, 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 this or that. I think it's great. I mean, especially in terms of basketball today and tournament and seedings and resumes and all that kind of stuff. You took care of business, or so far, you're taking care of business against all the teams you need to take care of. 14-0 against unranked teams. I think it shows that they care of business. Now Georgia is ranked. Don't get me wrong. Um, However, I think that does show Tennessee's ability to, because like I said, Florida was ranked 10th. You're on the road. It's a hostile environment. Tennessee, Georgia is always weird. But up until that, this year, Tennessee has shown its ability to take care of the business it's supposed to take care of. And that's what we had said at the beginning, all the way back in our preview, when kind of discussing this team's success long term. It's like, well, if you can take care of business and win the games you're supposed to win, and just drop the games. Drop a few games here and there, the ones that are going to be hard, the ones that are going to be difficult, which Florida was always going to be one of those difficult games. But take care of business against, don't lose the games you're not supposed to lose. I would consider this a game you're not supposed to lose.
This is
Tennessee
definitely
has
a
me.
favorable matchup. This is definitely a favorable matchup.
I would agree. I would have to agree. I think there's a chance Tennessee gets hot from outside, and I think they are able to use that home crowd to help them elevate. I think there's a more than good chance that Chaz kind of bounces back. I think we had written down, yeah, again, this is the first time they faced Georgia while they're ranked, but Tennessee has won 6 of their last 7 against Georgia. It's just one of those things where they've the last year went to Georgia. They were down 11, came back and beat them. So I would consider this a game you definitely have to take advantage of and win. And especially, and I know they're not thinking of this is just our perspective, but especially since Alabama and Florida lost last night, you're ranked 6, the 5 and 4 go down. You don't want to go down with them. You could take advantage of this.
It's
Now I know
definitely
they're not thinking about that at all, but still.
yeah, hop back into that top five, especially like you say, SEC is tough. So the SEC, you gotta, like you said, take advantage of those favorable matchups because it's so many good SEC teams that you're going to get penalized for losing games because I think it's about 10 SEC teams in the top 25. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of good teams and no
Heart
one
goes out.
play anything like that. So
Yeah, my heart goes out to Georgia, man. They play four
oh
top
yeah,
10 teams, and they're like
yeah,
they're in this like in their like I don't know, they got like a 6 game stretch where they play 4 top 10
yeah.
teams, and again, my heart goes out to them. They beat 2 of them, or they beat 2 top 25 teams. One of them was top 10, so
I think they got like Tennessee, Alabama.
they played
Auburn.
Florida, they play Auburn, they play us.
Speaking of Auburn, though, they had a great win yesterday without their
They
leader
dominated.
winning the award.
I
Player room, so I
they
am that.
dominated.
Yeah, so
And we're
um,
no, they were at home. I was about to say, were they in Stark? No, but they were at home.
they were in
Uh,
like you don't have Broome.
Auburn looks great, man. They
I
look
definitely
really good.
part because of
Um, yeah. But like I said, I mean, all the things that we talked about, like I said this last week, and I'll say it this week. Tennessee has earned the right and shown the right to prove that they are also a number one team, number one caliber team, every bit as could be every bit as good as Auburn. I think that there's several avenues that they have to do to get back and to maybe not even get back, but to solidify that. Chaz has to step up, so has to start playing, has to start being your leading scorer again. It has to be start playing your 20 points per game score. Your bench production has to stay consistent, and you got to get that off the bench as well as your defense, which has been on the whole time. No question about that. But you got to keep the defense consistent, and I think I could definitely see a world where it's at the end of this, towards March, you're coming down to Tennessee, Auburn, who's going to be number one.
yeah. I think this game I'm just looking forward to like you said the Chaz bounce back game. Hopefully he gets to find his shooting stroke again, and I'm also excited to see what happens with D Stone. Does he get more minutes? Does he get about the same minutes? How is the rotation? Does the rotation even change even a little bit after that big game? Knowing
I think it
Barnes,
has to.
but I don't know though.
He's stubborn. You're right. He is. And maybe this is a fault of Rick Barnes. Maybe this is why he has the regular season Rick titles because he is a little stubborn. He is like does his way. Man, and I've said this every year, and it was so nice to have Dalton last year. But I was talking with a friend of mine that I went to and watched the Texas game with. And we didn't really have it Saturday neither, but I think Tennessee really needs that guy, and Rick Barnes never seems to really have those guys outside of Dalton's, and then maybe Grant Williams before him. But you just need that one guy to just be a dog. And I hope, and it looked like Chaz was starting to be that way. I'm not saying just because he had 2 like below average games that he can't or not going to, but and I hope he does. You just need somebody to just be a dog and to say, you know what, I'm gonna take the last shot. I'm gonna take this shot. I could pass out or I could drive into the rim and I'll meet you at the rim. There's a lot. He's athletic. He shoots. He can shoot and score from anywhere. And maybe we'll see it tonight, but maybe we'll see it later on. Either way, I think the key to this season success, not just this game, is for one of those guys to really step up and say, you know what, I'm a dog. I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna take this game over. And hopefully Chaz can be that guy for him. I think that's what they're looking for. I think he has the best opportunity to be that guy. So I'm interested, seriously, and to go back to connect back to what you were saying, I'm interested to see what the sets and the plays are going to look like for today. You're back at home. You would think that they are, contrary to what they've said, like maybe in the media about, Chaz needing to be more aggressive, Chaz needing to take those shots. You would think that they understand that it's partially on them as coaches to maybe tweak it a little bit. Okay, how can we get Chaz more involved? What are some easy looks that we can get Chaz, even though nothing's going to come easy for him at this point because everybody's going to close out to him. But how can we best, screen and get around and move the ball to find Chaz to get him easy looks, to get his confidence up? You see a few go in early, and now all of a sudden you're feeling yourself, and then the rest of the game, Chaz can kind of take that on himself. But I do think part of that is on the coaches to say, yes, he needs to be aggressive. Yes, he needs to take those shots, but how can we get him those shots a little bit easier?
Yeah, I agree. Last thing I wanted to add just to see your thoughts, because I was having this discussion with one of my friends when it came down to Tennessee basketball and why don't players that can score the ball really well coming out of high school come here? And I have my opinion on it. And I think it's just because this offense is not eye candy. Like when you compare systems like Auburn, let's just say Auburn and Tennessee. Auburn, freshman into High Pettiford, 6 man, comes off the bench. He can shoot whatever shot he wants to because the coaches trust him. They've seen him. They've seen him in high school do it. They've seen him in preseason do it. They've seen him in training camp do it. Like you can't do that in Rick Barnes' offense. Rick Barnes' offense is not like, okay, if I'm a great scorer, let's just say if Chaz was a freshman, no, if Chaz was a freshman coming straight out of high school, he would not be having this type of success he's having now, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Just off the fact, like I said, Rick Barnes' offense is not eye candy for it. If I'm a scorer, I'm not coming here just because I see the set. Like I don't have. It's like freelance. And he's also like, I didn't think he was really like setting up anything for Chaz to get open sometimes. Because sometimes when the one pin down screen doesn't work, it's like, okay, come give Chaz another screen instead of like having some real like sets and real plays where these shots can be really open. And he doesn't have to shoot these contested threes or these deep threes. Instead of coming off like a screen here's elevator screen, and he shoots wide open shots. So I was just trying to see, like, pick your brain on the idea of why you don't
I
think 5-star scorers don't come here, or like
I've
why
had
you.
these conversations 1,000 times with friends and people I know that want to talk Tennessee basketball. You're right. We don't get 5 stars very often. Don't get 4 stars very often. That's why partially it is so impressive that that Coach Barnes has as much success with this team. I think I saw they're the only team, them and Kansas, like the only team to be ranked in the top 5, like each of the last 3 years or 4 years, something like that. So it is impressive that he's able to do it. But as far as the specific reason guys don't come, I totally agree. Not only two big reasons is what I think, and what I tell people. Number one is Barnes has not shown either the trust or the willingness or whatever it is to get young guys involved early. I think um, that's why a guy like, if you go back to another somewhat high recruit, Jordan Phillips. I think if he didn't go to the draft, which I thought he went too early, he had first round potential and ended up going late in the second. I don't even know if he's where he's playing or what he's doing.
Right now.
Yeah. And you would love for him to stay, but I don't think he'd ever stayed. I think if he didn't go to, I'm almost certain if he didn't go to the draft, he would have transferred somewhere else because 6'8", big, long wing guy. Rick Barnes sees that, and don't get me wrong, and we were pretty good that year. Tennessee was pretty good that year. Rick Barnes sees that and was like, wow, this guy can defend so well. He's long. We can get him involved in different off balls. And that's not what he wants. He's sitting here like, damn, I'm trying to score. Same with Josiah Jordan James, another guy, tall, long, 6'8". Him as a 6'8" point guard as he gets recruited. 5-star, one of their highest recruits recently, and it played fine. He's great. Always a good locker room guy, always a good character guy, but nothing a star. Definitely didn't
DJ
go.
Edwards too. You can add that
Yeah,
name. DJ
yeah,
Edwards, 5-star point guard, top 2 point guard in his class. Didn't play. He sat the bench the whole time.
100%. These guys don't get involved early. They're not made. Perfect example on both ends is I think that's why Calipari gets so many guys in the NBA and recruits so well because he can promise that. And he said, look, I'm going to get you involved early. You stay for 1 year. That's perfect, man. I want you to stay for 1 year and then go top 10 in the draft. Rob Dillingham came off the bench and could probably single-handedly score just as well with Dalton Connect, the whole time. But he's coming off the bench and he's going after 1 year and he's off in the NBA.
Six
Um,
man, bro, as a six man,
and
like
as a six man, exactly, still being one of the SEC's leading scorers. It doesn't matter whether you're young, whether you're off the bench, on the bench, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, five. I don't care. You're going to score. You're going to do it. So a big part of that is young guys not getting involved. If I'm a 5-star coming out of college, or kind of high school, especially in this day and age, where I'm sitting here like I want to be one and done. I'm trying to go to the NBA now. I don't have time to wait on this 3-year plan of yours. And partially Rick Barnes probably doesn't even want those kind of guys. The guys that think that way, or he wants the I over me team guys. But there might be something to say about that as far as not being able to get over the hump and win the big trophy because of that strategy. And then like what you said, nobody. I think Dalton Connect somewhat outplayed the system last year. I think this offense is never like I think Chaz is reaching the full potential kind of what this offense offers him. 18 to 20 points a game, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, is right where I think that's like cruising altitude for a guy like that at this, in the, in this kind of offense. I don't think it's ever meant for a 25, 30 point per game score because they don't want it. They want to move the ball. They want to take threes. They want to get big men involved. We're sitting here. How many guys like us are still playing like two, like 6'10" plus guys down in the paint, you know? Teams don't really do that often anymore. So definitely old school, and definitely it's just not designed for a guy like that, and that's why we don't get those top level scores, and we won't in the portal either. If a guy comes available from North Carolina or Duke or Arizona or something like that, we probably aren't going to get him
Tennessee.
because well, why? You know what I mean? Like maybe the Dalton and Chaz stuff. Like if Chaz continues to have a good year, maybe that can change it, and maybe a 5-star does kind of look and is like, okay, Tennessee actually is a place where I can score and actually get involved and maybe win some awards. But for years, that's for better or for worse. And I can't tell. I'm not a good enough coach to say like, is he good because he doesn't get those kind of guys, and so his system works because he's able to get the most out of 3-star level talent, JUCO level talent, and that's how it works. And then the money works out because Tennessee isn't like the biggest spender, but he's able to use the money really well. Or is Rick Barnes really a good coach, but because he can't really recruit those high level scorers and those blue chip high school guys, maybe that's why he's never really gotten over the top and really able to capitalize. But we say all this, and last thing I say, we say all this, and the man coached Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant talks about him all the time. So probably the best scorer that you and I have, the best pure scorer that you and I have probably single handedly watched. So I say that, but those
Like
KD,
26 his freshman year, but he's a unicorn. So
yeah, and there's a lot to is that KD, is that Rick Barnes, but the man coached him up. So
yeah.
and Rick and KD gives lots of credit to Rick Barnes. He doesn't like give all of his credit. Obviously, he knows he's a dog and a unicorn, but he gives lots of credit to Rick Barnes, and he's still very loyal to Texas, and then gives Tennessee a lot of love, especially last year with Dalton Connect, because of I think he really liked his system and liked what he did. But good talking point. I'm always interested to talk about that.
I guess it's something we'll just see in these upcoming games. But I guess that's all for today's pod. Georgia game.
Georgia tonight. Mm-hmm.
Really late game. But we'll be back maybe tonight if the stars align. But most definitely tomorrow we'll be back with another podcast. I'm Jeremiah again.
I'm Gabe. Thanks for listening.
Thank y'all for listening to I'm Just Saying. Peace.
See ya.